right, welcome back from that short break. It's this Sports Talk here on the Atlantic Television Network. Joining me live in the studio this morning to bring you all that transpired yesterday in the All African Games, as well as more sporting stories here, is Emmanuel Michael, the man I call the Mike Man. Welcome to the studio today.
Yeah, good morning to you, Temple, and good morning to our viewers out there. Always a pleasure to do this with you.
Always a pleasure, and of course we'll start with the African Games ongoing in Ghana. It was a day of joy yesterday as Toby Amushon sensationally claimed her third consecutive gold medal in the 100-meter hurdles at the ongoing All African Games in front of the crowd in Accra, Ghana. I took my time to watch this particular one, and it was a scene to behold.
Definitely, very great scene out there. You saw the joy in the face of Toby Amushon even before getting to the track out there. You saw her beaming with a lot of confidence out there. And of course, this is a hat trick for her. In 2015, she also did the same thing, replicated the same form in 2019. Coming to 2024, this is a hat trick for her. I think when it has to do with Africa, I think she stands tall. I mean, it's just a world of Toby Amushon when it has to do with the 100-meter hurdle. And every other person is just queuing behind Toby Amushon, because I think she has been able to master that track, and of course there is nobody that comes close to her. But one angle I'm pretty worried about her performance yesterday is about the timing. The timing of her return. I think she needs to improve on that.
12.89 seconds.
12.89 seconds. I am not comfortable with that, because if you take a look at some other world athletes that have also carved a niche for themselves, the likes of Camacho Queen, the likes of Sherika Jackson, to name but a few. If they get to compete in the same track with Toby Amushon, I do not think that Toby Amushon will have the upper hand over them, looking at the timing of her return. That is the only angle I was pretty worried. She needs to also improve on her timing, so that at least when we get to the Olympic, we can be rest assured that indeed she's going to compete favorably well with other big names like I've mentioned earlier.
From what you said now, it looks like she has continued her dominance. She won this particular one in 2015 in Brazzaville, one in Rabat, Morocco in 2019, and then yesterday in Accra, Ghana, she did fantastically well, getting to win that particular one in a time of 12.89 seconds, which is arguably, at the level of the African continent, a good one. But compared to the level, the level we expect her, when you are running against these ones, they are not as exposed as you have been. This is a world record holder in this particular event. Like you said, one would have expected her to, show the class, even prove a point to those who are watching, because I'm sure even her counterparts, the likes of Camacho will be watching her in this particular one to see if she had fallen, if she had faltered. I mean, the talk of today would have been something different. So if you're winning, also winning in a large margin, or maybe she was also looking at injury concern and the fact that she will win. So the timing should not bother her. All she wanted was just to win, because there are no match for her. Could that be possible reasons why the timing we saw is coming out this way, 12.89 seconds? Because like you said, it's worrisome, but she might just have a different thinking that, why should I stress myself, get myself teared just because I want to win this race, whereas I know I'll win this race.
Yeah, I think there's need as well to see reasons with her, competing at the 100-meter hurdle. I think she also had other, track and field events to take part in. So I guess that is the reason why she had to slow down her pace, not to, incur any injury. Because don't forget as well, she was part of the team as well, the 4x100-meter, relay race as well, which we also won a gold medal. So she was part of that, race as well. So I think possibly she was thinking on, trying to retain her energy and pace, so that she can also take part in the 4x100-meter, relay race, which we also won gold medal. So for me, maybe that is the only cogent and excusable excuse, in quotes, that made her to slow down her pace. Outside of that, I expected her to at least, up her timing, because this is the lowest in her timing so far in all of these three races that she has won since 2015 down to 2019 to now. This is the lowest, timing return for her. So I think possibly it's because of the fact that she was, thinking or hoping to take part in the 4x100 meter, relay. That is why she had to, slow down her speed.
Now, similarly, you talked about the 4x400 meter relay. Team Nigeria also did so well, anchored by Toby Emotion, won the race in a time of 43.05 seconds. The other team members include Moferehon, Abenusawa, Justina Ekoyebone, and then Olajide Olayenka. These ladies showed class, like you said, in that particular one. They started, I mean, they were not in the top gun, but how they ended up was very surprising. And look at the dust in there from Toby Emotion and in the last set of the relay. It was truly, it was all about Nigeria yesterday.
It was all about Nigeria, and we truly came to the party. Of course, I will keep saying this is our area of strength. I must as well maximize it to the fullest, make sure we rack up the necessary gold medal available so as to also increase our medal haul on the table out there, because the likes of Algeria and South Africa is going for the jugular against us. South Africa is just on 29 gold medals right now, while we are seated 35. So you see the disparity is not that high, because if the South Africans get to
gold,
yeah, if they get to their area of strength as well, they might possibly leapfrog us to the second position. So I think we need to take advantage of this area of our strength so that we can be able to up our medals on the table out there, because as it stands right now, I think it's a very healthy competition between the second and third. We are not talking about first here, because the Egyptians, I think they're far away off.
Okay, we'll come to the medal table, but let's look at other happenings, from the camp of Team Nigeria yesterday. Of course, not just Toby Emotion participating in the 100-meter hurdles, as well as the 4x100-meter relay. We also saw Chidi Anthony Okeze won gold at the athletics event, in the men's 400-meter final by a time of 45.0 seconds. That's a slight minute, slight seconds from the guy from Ghana, who would have also gotten his hand on this particular one. This is a lovely one, and I mean, nobody saw this one coming. This was very fantastic for me, if you ask me.
Definitely. For Chidi, I think it's an impressive one for him. Having tried about 8 good years to lay his hand on any major silverware when it has to do with his career there, not forthcoming. I think this time around he had to hold on to the wedding ring of the mother, which the father gave to the mom, some time ago, where they were still, dilly-dallying in their early days. He made mention of that. He said that this is a ring that was given to, the mom by the father during their early days of, marital life and all of that. And for the father, he has tried about 8 good years to win a major silverware for himself and for the country. It's not forthcoming. So he decided to, wrap up that ring and in form of chain and hung it around his neck as a remembrance for the mom, and to also see if that is going to serve as a good luck for him. And it actually worked out perfectly for him out there, as he was able to win the gold medal. I think for me, it was an incredible feat for Chidi out there. He has been able to also put his name on the gold medal, also to fulfill his long-time ambition of winning a major silverware for the country and for himself out there. So for me, I think the Jollof Derby is gradually taking a different shape right now, because we've actually had a better of the Ghanaians when it has to do with the Jollof Derby in the past few days right now. Winning them in the 4x100 meter, I think it's an impressive one. And also be squaring up against them in the under 20 football. Also the 3x3 basketball under 20 as well, who is due to take part in the final between Ghana and Nigeria on Thursday, which is the same day that the football team is also taking.
That's today.
Yeah, today rather. So I think it's a Jollof Derby, and we are actually taking the shine of the Ghanaians this time around.
Yes, by Team Nigeria did so well getting a particular one. We saw Mora Mary, a sprinter from Ghana, clocked 50.57 seconds, to come at seconds in that particular one. A lot transpired in the women's final. It wasn't an easy at all. Joseph Esther Elo from Nigeria, cleaned the silver, followed following her time of 51.61 seconds with Sebi Sita from Burkina Faso scoring bronze with a time of 51.74 seconds. And so Nigeria doing so well, at least getting medals, in almost all the events in athletics yesterday. Still talking about medals here, we look at Team Nigeria. They won 4 gold medals yesterday after beating Ghana in a close contest by the 400 meter, which we talked about. Clearly, Nigerian men, were in outstanding form. Did so well in that particular one. It was not easy at all, but were able to get past Ghana. This one looks like Ghanaian property in the 4x100 meter relay, But yesterday, Nigeria got that particular one in a time of 38.41 seconds, The timing was just a matter of 2 seconds difference between them and Ghana. 38.43 seconds, while Team Liberia 48.70. So it was at some point even the commentators were not too sure of who had won, because between them the gap was very slight, yeah. But Team Nigeria were very fantastic form. Like the likes of Israel Sunday, Sekiri Oresise, Ekenem Consider Akintola Alaba or Lokunle. So it does show that these guys did the magic. We were able to blaze on, and finally it paid off.
Definitely. I was sitting very close to, a friend while watching that, race yesterday. And my friend was like, this is the need why we have to introduce technology in sports, because at the last lap, we were very confused on who actually won. But thanks to technology that have actually come to take its rightful place in sport, that can be able to solve some of these puzzles, because it were to be manual.
They are giving it to Ghana.
Yeah.
No, because from the view which I was watching from, it looks like the Ghanaian guy has won it.
Yeah.
Because it looked like he was. But one thing clear is when the VAR, or they call it, I don't know how they call it there, the goal line, we say goal line technology. The technology looked at it, and it was easier to, he placed his hands, his leg, past the line.
Yeah.
That was when I knew that, okay, the slight seconds, slight seconds, and that was magical for me. How he did it, I'm not even sure when he felt that, if he was conscious to know that he had won or not, because at that time it doesn't matter to him. He has tried everything possible, and it's lovely when you get to see the joy that flows from the heart. And finally, I'm sure the Ghanaians were very disappointed. I saw them, preparing their flag, but when you have when you plan for gold and then you get silver, you got silver yesterday, I'm sure they were not too elated at that.
Definitely they weren't, considering the rivalry that exists between Ghana and Nigeria over the years in time of sporting activity. I think they will be very, very disappointed with themselves, with their performance out there. But like I said, I think that technology have come a whole long way to help resolve some of these puzzles in sports. Don't forget, even before the goal line technology came in, we saw a whole lot of controversy in the areas of football. You could remember that World Cup goal which Lampard of England scored, which actually crossed the line. But because there was no VAR then, there were goal line technology. They were unable to decipher whether it actually crossed the line or not. So for me, I think technology have actually come to also help us in a long way, because if without technology, I think the Ghanaians by now, they will be claiming that they won the gold, and we can't actually deny it, because it was a keenly contested encounter. But then thank God for technology, like I said. So I think we are riding high when it has to do with the Jollof Derby right now. It's 2-0 right now against the Ghanaians.
And of course, the Jollof Derby seems to be the most talked about event, blending delicacies with happenings in Ghana, even in football. Whenever Ghanaians and Nigerians have any fierce battle, there is this talk of the Jollof Derby always coming to play. But away from that, still in the African Games, the former contingent of Team Nigeria to the Sambo event, or the 13th African Games, claimed 1 gold, 1 silver, and 1 bronze medal yesterday, and which is the Sambo event is one of the demonstration sports. They are getting it for the first time, and so among the 30 sports listed for the games, had Nigeria competed against Algeria, Burkina Faso, Central African Republic, Cameroon, Democratic Republic of Congo, Egypt, Guinea, Mali, Morocco, Niger Republic, Togo, and host Ghana. And it was James Chigwam, the first and a bronze medal for Nigeria in the men's 58 kg, while Jonah Kajido narrowly missed out from the podium in the men's 79 kg after losing to his Moroccan counterpart. However, Charity Jatua was flawless in all her fight that she claimed the first gold medal for Nigeria after winning her bout against her Egyptian opponent in the women's 59 kg, but her compatriot Fatima Aboyomi had to settle for silver in the women's 65 kg. And the vice president of the side, Sharif Ahmed, described the performance of the athlete as a pointer to the potential of Nigeria in the sports. Sambo is not a popular sport. A lot of us don't even know what the Sambo sports is all about. Team Nigeria were able to do the needful, at least as a demonstration sports in this year's games. Getting to win all the medals is also very fantastic.
Very fantastic indeed, and I think for me it's an encouraging one because, like you said, this is relatively an unknown sport here in this part of the climb. But then we're able to go out there and make a very strong statement. I think there is hope for Sambo here in the country if we can be able to invest on it further. Looking at the fact that at least in this edition of the African game, we're able to make a strong point and winning a gold or silver and even bronze. I think for me it's a massive one. We have about 32 different sporting federations here in the country, but if you take a critical look at some of these sporting federations, you can only say it is only 3 or even possibly 4 that is very renowned. The rest of the sporting federation, you look as though they are very dormant. Why? Because some of the sports here are not, we are not familiar with some of those sports. And this is the reason why we don't get it right when we go for international competitions such as, the Olympic or the Commonwealth game. You discover that countries such as Canada, United States of America, even Egypt that is doing pretty well. The reason why they always stand tall is that they are able to develop other angle of sport, not just relying on football or basketball. They develop
and surprisingly too, when it comes to football, if you are going to rate success as to trophy, then you say that the Egyptians are the most successful team in Africa.
Yeah.
In terms of football, both club side and the national team.
Of course, yes. So what gives other countries an edge when you get to the Olympic or Commonwealth game, like I said earlier, is because of the fact they are taking part in mostly all the sporting activity. For example, this All-African game, we have about 30 different sporting activity to take part, and the Egyptians, they are taking part in all of these, categories, while we are only limited in taking part, in 25 out of the 30. So the 5 that is remaining, if the Egyptian is racking up gold medals in different categories of the other 5 that is remaining, so automatically, even before we get started, we've also shot ourselves on the foot by already conceding 5 gold medals to the Egyptian. Why? Because we are not taking part in in that 5 sporting federation. So I think it's a nice one having to see Sambo making a headway here in the country. Let's hope that the authority that be the federation can also look deeper and be able to spot out talent out there that can go and do us proud in the future.
It's about sporting talent, and Zimbabwe too good as the Yellow Greens crashed out of the men's cricket event at the ongoing games, yesterday after they lost by 10 wickets against Zimbabwe in the last group game. This is more like a wake-up call for Nigeria. They lost at the Achimota cricket over, and I'm sure that they now know that this is not Tafawa Belawa Square, where you get to display over, rather, where you get to display. And the way the Zimbabwean won their toss, what an impeccable win, 6 wins from 3. They were joined by the last 4 now by the likes of Namibia, who also won just 1 game like Nigeria, but advanced on net run rates. And in cricket, they look at your net run, which is very important. Yeah. And in fact, in a game, your loss of wickets, determine your net run. And Nigeria, that seems to be the problem. Almost all the tournament, even the one we hosted last at the Tafawa cricket over. And for me, the coaches need to work on getting a good net run and maybe having good wickets.
Definitely, I think the net run is what that matters. If we had a better net run over the Zimbabwe, I think we should have scaled through, but then it wasn't to be. So I think it's a whole lot of work, a whole lot of assignment for the coach out there to do, because I expected Nigeria to at least go far in this very one. Looking at the fact that, preparing before the All-African game, they actually had about 3 weeks camping, after taking part in the T20 Invitational Tourney here in Lagos. They expected us to go they possibly get to the final, but then it wasn't to be. It's a wake-up call for the coaches out there, to also go back and do their own job properly, so that next time we can be able to give a good account of ourselves.
Give a good account of himself, and of course, Chris Danjuma, the coach of Nigeria under-20 team, is in high spirits as he's already expectedly hoping that Nigeria can do the needful against Ghana. And for me, when it comes to this level, you don't take anything to chance. It's 90 minutes and to be played in 2 halves. So Nigeria need to do everything possible. But one thing standing is the fact that this is an experienced tactician who have plenty of players like Judith Adeobi, Chamaka Kochiku, from the bench, and they can provide goals when it matters most, which of course also helped them in the last time, when they played against the Ugandans. But no 2 games are alike. So no matter how confident you are in a particular game, when you go to the other game, you need to deploy different tactics and also understudy your opponents. Are you very certain that they can do the needful against Ghana today?
Well, certain. Possibly yes or no, because in the game of football, you can't actually write off any team out there. Getting to the final of any football event is not by fluke. You have to walk your fingers to the bone to get to where you are. Now, for the Ghanaians, Ghanaian ladies, I think they've actually worked very hard to get to the final. It will be the greatest undoing for Christopher Danjuma's side and his ladies out there to underrate the Ghanaians, because a whole lot is at stake. We keep mentioning about the Jollof Derby and all of that. Of course, if you go to most of the Ghanaian TV stations and all other social media handles out there, you see them boasting a whole lot about these derbys. Anytime it has to do with Nigeria out there, they are never taking it very, very easy with us. So I think we must also look back and understand that football is not the way we always think it's going to be. Though we are the defending champion, yeah, no doubt, but then I think the Ghanaians as well, they also have a stake. Don't forget, they are at home as well, so the home crowd as well might even also add as an additional incentive for them. Talking about the 12 men, of course, when you get to this kind of game, so many persons may not be in the same line or in tandem with volleyball, track and field event, taekwondo, and the rest. Most of the sporting fans out there, they always focus their attention on football, and of course you expect the Ghanaians to turn out in their numbers to be able to cheer the Ghanaians to victory out there. So I think for me, Christopher Danjuma should not underrate the Ghanaians. But if you ask me, do we have the necessary materials that can get the job done and dusted for us? Of course we do. It just boils down to determination, and also the willingness of the players as well to write their name on a platter of gold that is going to make the difference. Just go out there, play their normal game, very, very confident, feel relaxed, and get the job done and dusted. They should not be under pressure, because if they do, that is certainly going to affect them. But then I think we have an edge over the Ghanaians in today's game.
Have an edge over the Ghanaians in today's game, and that looks very, very catchy. But let's see how it all plays out. The game will be played 8 p.m. tonight, and it promises to be mind-blowing. That's 9 p.m. Nigerian time, so we'll keep our eyes on that one to see how far. I hope to get toward this one so that I see for myself if truly they are deserving of champions. A lot will transpire in this particular one. But so before we go on a quick short break now, let's look at the medal table, which is the accumulative, which comes from the cumulative points or medals a team wins each day. And for Nigeria, getting to win 5 gold yesterday have elevated them from 30 to 35 gold medal now, and they now have 23 silver at 32 bronze, as compared to 92 gold, 41 silver, and 34 bronze medal for Egypt. If you look at the disparity between Egypt and Nigeria and every other team, you just see that in terms of gold, it's not even half of what the Egyptians have won, as compared to what they also have won in terms of the total margin. Is not half. So they are dominating in gold massively. There is no contention in silver. that silver is more than every other one. Usually when you win gold like this, or when you win gold, you expect that maybe other teams will not be pushing hard in other medals. But when you look at the difference between their gold medals and the medals they've won in terms of silver, both colors, they are dominant. That means they are always at the edge of getting to win gold. But somehow maybe they lost for that and then come back to silver. So there is no match when it comes to them. 41, 23. The list that comes close in silver is South Africa with 30. Okay, maybe Algeria with 33. Silver as compared to that 41. So look at what the Egyptians have done. It shows that in sports, give it to them in recent times.
Definitely, you give it to them. Mostly the North African side, they always know how to get the best out of any sporting event here in Africa. Why? Because they have the facilities, they have the manpower, they have the organizational structure, they have what it takes in different areas to be able to ensure that they develop their sport perfectly well to match up with other European counterparts. And that is why when they get to compete in the shores of Africa, they seem to be standing on a world of their own compared to the North Africa, East Africa, or even Central Africa. So most time I think they've done their own job. Like I was trying to make a projection earlier, the reason is very simple. They deliberately take a step towards developing their sport holistically and not just narrowing it down to a certain kind of sport. And they are very, very efficient and very deliberate in developing the structure and the tools for those sporting categories. And that is why they are dominating in almost all strata of sport out there. Whereas here, they are relatively unknown sport that we don't pay much attention. You and I were talking about in the curling federation some time ago when we had to speak with the
Federation president.
Federation president. He was lamenting about paucity of funds that they were due to take part in one international competition or the other. But it looked as though they are handicapped, begging for financial assistance from the sporting ministry to help them to go for national assignment. It's as bad as that. Why? Because we don't pay credence. We don't give attention to some of these relatively unknown sport. Whereas the Egyptians, they don't want to know whether it's relatively unknown sport or not. What they want to see is that they want to compete at the highest level with the people, at the top out there. And they have also provided the materials and tools, the equipment on ground to be able to meet up with the standard, and that is why they are doing very well. So I think it's not a rocket science. We can't just wake up from the slumber and think you want to go and compete with somebody that have also set a deliberate plan and taken a pragmatic action towards getting the goal that he or she have set for himself. You don't just wake up one morning and think you want to go and compete with them. It won't work, and that is why we are very much adrift, very far. Looking at the medals table, there's nothing to be compared. If you total all of the medals that we've been able to rack up, it's not even half of what the Egyptians have already. And this is because they have taken a deliberate plan in developing sport generally.
Taking a deliberate plan in developing sports, and no doubt with 92 gold medals and 41 silver, 34 bronze medal, it tells how good the Egyptians are when it comes to properly packaging themselves and also ensuring that they do so well at Economic Africa. I'm sure one of these days we're going to get an Egyptian live on the show to look at the prowess of Egyptian. What are they doing right that other African countries haven't done in recent time when it comes to sports? We're going to bring him, one of my guys from Egypt, live, and let's look at it, and there are lessons to learn from the All-African Games. I'm sure that next week show we'll get some sports journalists and maybe some sports experts looking to the disparity between Egyptian sports and what other countries in Africa, what they're doing. But it baffles me that the Egyptians are not even, they don't have a female football team that, striving so hard as compared to their male counterpart.
Yeah, it's not surprising, but then they are
it is surprising because Morocco they are not Africans.
Yeah.
Do so well.
Yeah.
The Tunisians are struggling, no doubt. South Africa, yes, but Egypt that has the coloration of, sports.
The reason is very, very simple for me. Most of these Islamic countries, most time they try to disenfranchise the female from taking part in certain sport. It's just of now that maybe development and all of that, this jet age have come to unveil the, the log of wood that was in their eye, and that is why they try to even give a slimmer chance for some of the female out there to take part in a different sporting activity. But then, before now, it wasn't that way, because they are holding very firm to the religion, to their belief out there, and that is why, it was like something surprising that football is trying to make it headway out there in the Saudi Pro League, where we're beginning to see women. Of course, you saw in the last Women World Cup, you saw some of the Moroccans out there donning on their, hijab to take part. These are things that were very, very alien when it has to do with the Islamic and their faith out there. But for now, I think they are changing that mindset, they are changing that perception, and that is why we saw Algeria, rather, their female team doing pretty well. So I think with time, they will get there.
Tunisia still struggling with 16 gold medals so far, 21 silver and 29 bronze medal. I mean, look at them and they say we have, okay, let's look at it now from zonal geographical location. We have North Africans, riding high when it comes to the medal table: Egypt, Algeria, Tunisia. We have South Africa, represented by South Africa themselves, and we have a West African nations. And so when it comes to zonal or geographical pride, you always want to give it to the North Africans. And no doubt, this is not football now where we say, look at who have won more. It looks like when it comes to sports, the North Africans are the best. That means they are doing something strategic that others, like maybe West Africans, we have. But before then, it wasn't like this. I mean, yes, even if we know that, but there was this domination in the 90s from the West Africans. But like you said, a lot has changed.
A lot has truly changed, and this is because, the North Africans, like I will keep saying, they have taken a deliberate plan towards, meeting up with the standard of those who are doing pretty well in the area of sports in the international scene. They are even looking beyond Africa. That is the truth. The benchmark they have set for themselves is beyond Africa. They are looking at the world powers, people that are making headways in the world of sport, and they want to also emulate these persons, these countries, not just emulating them on the field of play, but emulating the structures that they've put on ground to ensure that they can be able to replicate the same thing that the other countries who are doing pretty well in the world of sport is doing. So I think for me, they are not using Africa as a benchmark, whereas here in the West Africa, we are trying to even use the North Africans as a benchmark for us to get there. So I think it's a different strokes from different strokes. But then, looking at it, we truly need to up our game if we want to meet up with the world sports.
All right, let's go on a break now. When we come back, we'll look at other sports, and then we'll delve straight to football, where we'll still have a lot of discussions here this morning. Don't forget, you're tuned into Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network.
Telling him not to counterpunch. Telling him not to counterpunch. People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human trafficker.
Honorable on the cost to Alderweireld. So no agreement with the EU, but
All right, welcome back from that break. If you're just joining us, this is Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. And of course, is the second part of the show where we'll take you through other happenings. And we'll talk table tennis now. For the first time in a very long while, we get to see Team Nigeria, 8 African, players led by Egypt Omar Assar, Kwadi Aruna having confirmed for the $1 million prize money elite tournament that will take place in Macau, China, from the 15th of next month to the 21st of next month.
Yeah, great one. I think it's a nice one for Africa. They are trying to revitalize this, this competition which has gone dormant over the years because of the fact that I think they will be celebrating an anniversary in 2026, and this is why they want to try to revitalize some of the key iconic tennis events out there. And good to see that about 8 Africans is making the cut out there. But we keep talking about the North Africans. About 4 Egyptians, both in the male and the female category, has also been selected in this one. Why we only boast of Haruna Quadri in this very one? It tells you the disparity between, the improvement in the angle of sport between the North Africans and the West African and other, African, regions. I think for me, in all, I think it's a good one for Africa to know that they have been recognized as well, giving them that slot to also take part in the competition. And
now the professional tennis, yes, the Miami Open is on. We've seen some upset already. Not really upset, maybe some lovely victories from Paulo Badoza against Caroline Wozniacki. But then it looks like Caroline Wozniacki is not happy that banned athletes should be given a white card entrant into, and I'm thinking that this is a new line of argument. Before you know it now, it becomes a burning issue. Into which I don't know what divide you are, but I think that she's raising a very strong dust, which may not be good, for those who, because if you are banned and you come back, it's like she has achieved in the past, and she cannot stop her from getting a white card entrant.
No, for me, I think she actually raised a very salient point out there, because you know why? Some of these banned athletes, due to the fact that they took part in a prohibited substance, maybe progesterone, nandrolone, testosterone, just to name but a few. If you actually were caught taking part in one of banned substance, what it means is that you are trying to use artificial way to enhance your performance at the detriment of your other competitors who is competing on a clean slate. So for me, if you are caught, you need to pay for it dearly. And after paying for it, you don't just come back and get a white card. It means as though the work that some of the athletes have been doing, that have been competing very clean and very fair, it means as though their own hard work and genuineness is not recognized. You can't just come back after so many years of serving your ban, though it was cut very short because of the appeal and the rest of it. You are just getting a white card. I think for me, she raised a very valiant point. You need to start from the scratch, so that if it pains you a lot, then you need to understand the reason why you had to compete on a clean slate. Because if you come back after serving your ban and you just get a straight wild card, it means as though the other athlete who is competing on a clean slate, they don't know what they are doing. So for me, you need to start from the grassroots. You need to start from the
Well, we're going to look at this in the coming days, because you cannot also rule out the effort of some of these athletes in years past. And if it happens to Rafael Nadal now and he decides that, okay, he was banned for something, maybe pain relief and all that, that simulate the red blood cell and result to him being banned, for instance. He comes back after 2 years or 3 years. He's a legend. He's known for winning French Opens and all that. And French Open, and you say, such man, maybe he's coming back now, you say that the organizer should not give him preference. Because a lot of them want to see that legend. So we're going to keep that argument for some other day. But let's talk about something also very disturbing, and that's the fact that the IOC have come out to express that Belarusian and Russian athletes will not be part of this year's Olympic opening ceremony. And this is another controversial issue that will linger for some time.
Yeah, very controversial issue, but that will linger for some time. But then it also has a bounce back for some of the countries out there, because what this entails is that they are not going to hoist their flag out there, neither are they going to show any emblem representing their country or even sing their national anthem. And again, they are not going to be part of the opening ceremony. These are measures taken as a stringent condition for these countries because of their, the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. So for me, I think it's a good one. But then on individual basis, we want to say, yes, some of these athletes, they are not the key actors, of these, political issues. They are not part and parcel of what happened, but then because they belong or they hail from a certain countries who also raise that political dust out there by going to invade the Ukrainians, they also have the share part of the blame, and that is why they are being banned because of the activities that is taking place out there in their country. So for me, I think for me, like I said, on individual basis, I think you will say, yes, this one is not supposed to be so. But looking at it holistically, yes, they need to also take these measures so that it will serve as a deterrent to the country to which they hail from. Because for me, I think allowing them to compete, singing their national anthem, hoisting their flag, or, displaying emblem representing their country, is going to look as though they are actually trying to encourage the countries that have done this, man inhumanity to man by making sure that they invade Ukraine and kill innocent people out there. So for me, I think it's a debate that we rage on for many years to come. But then, the fact that they have been given the leeway to compete on a neutral ground, it's also good for some of the athletes, the individuals out there, because this will help them to keep fitness. It will help them to remain relevant for a quite long time. But then, it's still a very controversial issue.
And let's move now to Formula One. We have Ferrari. Carlos Sainz is set to return at this year's tournament, and of course, it's all about this weekend's Australian Grand Prix. He's hoping that he can come back better and stronger. The Spaniard had missed the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix due to surgery, but he's going to be back now. Hope he can get it right. We saw what Formula One, Behrman, the Britain who replaced Oliver Behrman, did so well in that last, Saudi Arabian Grand Prix last month.
Not a good news for, Oliver Behrman, who was hoping to also continue
this weekend.
Yes, he finished seventh, and I think for me it was a great one. He saw the likes of Hamilton and even Max Verstappen also, praising him after, that race. So for me, I think he'll be dropping to Formula 2 if this man, Carlos Sainz, is back. But then for me, I think it shows you that, they have a prospect who can also come in when there is need, so for him to come in. I think for me, it's a good one for him, having tested that first Formula 1 experience, and he did pretty well. Also for me, I think let's hope that he's going to also, carry the team and represent effectively. Don't forget, in the first, race, he actually came third. So let's hope he's going to do better than what he did in the first outing.
And that reminds me that this same team, we're going to see, Lewis Hamilton, don the colors of Ferrari next season. I mean, we'll get to see how it all pans now. But let's move to football matters, and we'll start from the local scene here, where the match day 10 result of the Nigeria Women Football League is out across various centers yesterday. And I can tell you that it was a lovely result. We saw Nigeria Ratos 3-1 against the Nas Ladies. Confluence Queens defeated Adamawa Queens 2-0. Royal Queens traveled to play Abia Angels. It ended goalless in that encounter. And also, we saw Nasarawa Amazons also in Group A. Lost to Heartland Queens there 1-0. In Group B, Edo Queens thrashed Rivers United 4-1. Ramo Stars were 1-0 better off than Delta Queens, and the Ekiti Queens lost at home to Bayelsa Queens. The most surprising result for me, not because of the affinity and sentiment towards Rivers Angels, but I mean, that scoreline is outrageous. 4-1 against the Edo Queens. Well, a lot of us will tell you that they're not surprised, because the Edo Queens also dominant female side in the Nigeria Women Football League.
I'm not also surprised. Why? Because about 3 key members of that Rivers United squad also is away for international duty, because 3 of them are taking part in the Falconet game out there in the ongoing All-African game in Ghana, 3 of their key players. Of course, some of the key players are some of the names that actually made a difference in our last game, which we actually won earlier. So when you have 3 of your key players out, for international duty, and you have to make do what you have, I think this is what you get. But then, that is not an excuse, because it's expected that every member of the squad should be at their best, and that is why you are in that club out there, despite the fact that you have some individual talent out there that you will want to say, yes, they are a little bit, better than some players out there, but as a professional, you must be able to be relied upon whenever some of these key players who serves as, maybe the joker, in quotes, of that team is not around. You also need to come in and give out your best. But for me, I think I was quite disappointed with the scoreline. 4-1 against, a side that will have had all this rivalry over the years. I think it was quite disappointing, to say the least.
4-1, and so I think that this will also shatter their ambition of if they had won this particular game, that they would have been they would have had one leg already, even if they would qualify for the playoffs. But at least getting to win the group would have been very fantastic, and clearly we saw a lot. Time is not our friend here, but it looks like the Nigerian Premier Football League has announced a new date for the match day 27th tie involving Nigeria Tornadoes and Shooting Star. The game was initially scheduled for Friday at the Ahmadu Bello Stadium in Kaduna, but it will now hold on Monday 25th of March at the same venue. Chief Operating Officer Davis Nowumi was disclosed this in a memo, and he expressed that to ensure logistics are properly put in place, this match will now be moved to 25th. So possibly we'll get to see. I don't get bothered if matches are moved, insofar as the clubs are well communicated. And like this game now, getting to move it to 25th, for me, it's not also a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea, so long as the proper requirement is put on ground, because we keep talking about security issues. So we've had, this issue about the last 3 weeks now. We had about two security issue breaches in the NPFL league, and for me, I think standing tall among them is about the fact that they failed to provide adequate security, encroachment into the pitch of play, and some unauthorized person allowed to step into where they were not supposed to be on a match day. So all of these things need to be properly put in check before we can be able to give a go-ahead for any NPFL game out there.
And lastly this morning, of course, the camp of the Super Eagles of Nigeria is bubbling. It's brimming with high intensity, because we saw the arrival of Ndidi and Kelechi Iheanacho from Leicester City. And so the camp now completes. I'm sure that Finidi George will now have the complement of the full players who will prosecute the game between them and Ghana, and then the Eagles of Mali.
Yes, of course, it has full complement of the squad out there, and it's very, very good to know that some of the players actually arrive camp very early. It helps the coach as well to also perfect his game plan while waiting for the D-Day. I think for me it's a nice one. You get to get acquainted with some of the players, get to perfect your tactical input out there, communicate with the player, have good time to have 1 or 2 chit-chat personally or individually with some of the players as well. I think it helps a lot. Good to know that some of the players are beginning to show that sign of patriotism. Don't forget what Alex Iwobi passed through in the hand of some Nigerians during the just concluded African Cup of Nations, where he actually deactivated his social media handle, but then after some time, he reactivated it back. And some person thought because of that social media bully was going to, abandon, the national team for some time. But then it was surprising to see that he was even among some of the first set of players that arrived camp very late. I think for me, it's a nice one.
It's a nice one, and of course, that's how nice it is when you are having fun here. But then we'll come your way again later this evening. Tomorrow promises to be another promising moment here on Atlantic Television Network. With you out there viewing us and us here in the studio, rolling out the news. It's always a magical blend, if you ask me. Ekpo Temple is my name. I did a show with Emmanuel Maika, the Mic Man. Join us this evening as we're going to look critically at some of the interesting football stories you can ever think of that has transpired in the last 24 hours, and the ones to come from now till the 6 o'clock hour when we come back for the evening show. Do have a lovely time on Atlantic Television Network. Bye-bye.
telling him not to counterpunch.